Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to open up and disassemble this Acer Swift 3X. The actual model number on the back here is SF314-510G-777S. I don't know what this other model number is, N20H3, but it's there. So, yeah. Alright, anyways, as you can see, this has a broken hinge, so we're going to be fixing that. And to fix that, we do need to open up and remove the bottom cover. So to do that, it looks like we're going to have to be using a T5 or a Torx 5 screwdriver. So let's go ahead and grab that. Okay, let's get all these screws out. Once we get all those screws, then we're going to go ahead and pop the bottom cover off. Alright, if this video helps you out, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helps you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. As you can see, I'm keeping all these screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths, so you don't want to get them all mixed up, and that's how I do it. Alright, also one other thing, this laptop does have a little hole here. That's a battery reset hole. Sometimes if the computer's not powering up or something, you can try using a little SIM card eject tool or a folded out paper clip. You press and hold that for about 15 seconds to drain any residual power and get it to reset, and that might get it to turn on. Alright, anyways, now that we got all those screws out, let's see if we can pop this out. Maybe I'll try a suction cup. There's not really much area to grab it, but maybe here. No? Okay, no. I'm going to use my usual way to try and open these, which is you get your fingernails, or I get my fingernails in that little gap there between the bottom cover and the palm rest, and then I'll push on the palm rest with my thumbs. Alright, you don't want to push on the touchpad area, so we're just pushing here. And it is popping, but more on the side, so we might have to actually pop the sides. So we'll go from the side. Okay, and be careful not to push the keyboard in, because the hinge is broken. It's a little bit tricky here, but there you go. You can see we're popping that out. Okay, we're going to go along the front now, see if we can pop that. Probably not. So I think we're going to have to go from the sides and then to the back here. The problem is the hinge is broken here, so we can't really close the screen all the way to get it out. But let's see, we'll close it a little bit and see if we can work our way there. So this side didn't pop out, so let's try and pop this better. Okay, and it is popping out a little bit on the sides here. So I'm going to hold that and push with my thumb, and there we go. Alright, you can see it opened up from the back side actually. Okay, and then this front side, I'm going to hold this down and kind of push and pull this cover and see if we can pop that out. But as you can see, it's being a pain here. Okay, and there we go. Alright. Okay, and I don't think this is going to come out. Alright, so I'm going to hold on the side here, and I'm going to kind of pull and push and pull this up and down and see if we can pop this out. It's popping out a little bit. Alright, it's not that, oh, there we go. I guess we just had to lift it up. And it's really dusty in here, so I'm going to have to clean that off. And it's actually super dusty here. Okay, so anyways, now that we got that, let's go ahead and get the battery out. I don't know if I'll be able to zoom in to show it really well, but let's see. Okay, actually that's really nice. Okay. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to disconnect the battery. So we'll peel this out of the way. You want to be careful inside here. Make sure that you're grounded if you're going to be touching this so that you don't get static built up. Okay, we're going to switch over to a JIS1 screwdriver, and we're going to undo this screw here. Okay, and there's also one screw down here, so we'll remove both of those. Okay, now that we got those two screws out, you can see we can lift this. We're going to use the wings of this connector. I'm going to use my thumbnails and just wiggle this connector left, right, and it should eventually walk itself out. There we go, just like that. Then we can go ahead and lift this and pull that out. Battery model number here is, there you go, AP18E7M. All right, we're gonna set that aside. And also, if you get a new battery, make sure you plug it in the right way. You can see this is like solid white there. You don't want the, excuse me, the pins here. Okay, you don't want that on the top. You want the flat side on the top. All right, there is an M.2 PCIe NVMe SSD here. It's an Intel Optane. I believe it's 32 gig plus some other SSD storage. And then also, oops, sorry, this SSD. It's an M.2 PCIe NVMe. Then there's another slot for another SSD if you want to add one. You also have the CMOS BIOS RTC real-time clock battery here with the connector right there. But anyways, let's go ahead and get the screen out of here so that way we can work on it. After disconnecting the battery, you do want to press and hold the power button for at least 15 seconds to drain any residual power. This makes it a lot safer to work on, all right? So we're just gonna do this. And yeah, you wanna hold that to drain the power, because if you don't, then there's a good chance you can fry the backlight circuit of the screen, or you can do some other damage. So you can hold it 15 seconds or longer and you should be good, all right? So it's plenty of time now. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're gonna go ahead and remove the screen here. I don't know how I'm going to show this, because since the hinges are broken, I kind of have to zoom out really far for you guys to see, because I have to hang the screen over the edge of my desk. All right, let's see. So it doesn't look like the wireless antennas go into the screen, so you don't need to worry about removing them. It looks like we only need to worry about removing this LCD LVDS connector, which to do that you have to peel up this adhesive here, and then after you peel it past this black plastic thing, you can flip this latch. Okay, I know it's hard to see. I'll show a close-up once I fix the hinge, but there we go. And then there's a little adhesive there. Peel that out and move that out of the way. Okay, we're gonna undo this hinge screws here. Hopefully you can see there's 2 on this hinge and then there's 2 on the other. So we're gonna remove those, and then there's 2 over here. We're gonna remove those as well. Okay. And once we get all of those out, hopefully we should be able to pull the whole screen out and work on it. All right, be careful. The screen looks like it might fall down. Okay, so now that we got the screws, we can actually just lift the screen completely straight up. Here we go. And there we go. All right, I'm going to clean this out just because it's super dusty. Like there's actually big dust bunnies coming out of here. So let me do that and I'll be back. And we'll also clean up this one as well. All right, I'll see you guys in a bit. All right, so cleaned up most of the dust. Let's actually see if we can lift the fan out a little bit to see if there's more dust still trapped in there, because there was quite a bit. So there's 2 screws. Let's see. Okay, this does come away. So you can see there's still a dust ball there. And this part lifts up as well. Where's the, oh, it connects over here. Okay, so let's take a look. There's a little bit of dust there, so I'm just going to use a toothbrush and kind of brush that off. Okay, there we go, and I'll use this air blower just to get that remaining dust out of there. Okay, we can go ahead and put the fan back. We're going to flip this over. We are just working on this to fix the hinge. The customer didn't ask me to repair anything else. So we cleaned up the dust. Hopefully everything else should be okay. All right, I'll give a quick close look up of all the internal components here. The mesh for this speaker did stick to there. You can see some of it tore off. I tried to glue it back, so hopefully it will stay. But there's that mesh, and you can see the part that's stuck to the speaker. All right, so hopefully that should be okay. Let's see what else. We removed the LCD LVDS. You can see the 2 wireless antennas there. There's a cable that connects the motherboard here to the USB headphone jack and the what do you call those, activity lights. All right, and then we have the speaker connected here, which runs down, and then this speaker connects to the other speaker all the way over here. All right, you got the touchpad trackpad connector here. There's a flip latch to flip that and then pull that out. Keyboard connector here, flip latch is on this side. Keyboard backlight connector, flip latch over here. You do have to peel up this capped on tape. Then there's this little cable here that plugs in to the fingerprint sensor, fingerprint reader there. 1 screw there holding it in place, and there's a little clip, it looks like, but we're not going to pull that out. Again, the only issue the customer's having is with the screen hinges, so we don't want to mess around with this. DC jack charge port is soldered to the motherboard there. Wireless cards here, just like every other model. Under this tape there's two antennas. You pull up from the tails and it will pop up to pop out, but you want to be careful because sometimes the soldering is not very good and it can get damaged. CPU and GPU are here. They are soldered to the motherboard, so you can't upgrade them. Pretty sure that's the CPU and this is the GPU, and then they have the CPU memory is under this black stuff. Okay, RAM isn't upgradable. It's soldered to the motherboard as well, so yeah. All right, there's the keyboard assembly. Let's see now if we can get the screen assembly apart here. Usually what you do is you pull up from the center and you kind of rotate it inwards here. And you can see there's some adhesive holding it down, so you want to be careful with this. You don't want to accidentally end up breaking the screen. So there's this adhesive. I'm going to actually separate it and stick it to the back there to keep it all in one piece. And same thing with these parts. You pull up from the middle and you kind of rotate it that way, okay? And you can see this is popping out. I'm most likely not going to rip out the whole frame just because we only need to fix this hinge, which I already took out the broken screws. I'm going to clean this up with a toothbrush off to the side just so it's not all dusty and stuff, because we are going to be putting some JB Weld here to hold that into place here. The nice thing is it has these two raised bumps that will hold it in place. Let's see if we can peel this up a little bit more. Okay. Just a little bit. Okay, you don't want to lift it too far and then end up breaking more stuff. So this, we have good access here to fix this. We're gonna basically clean this up. So actually, let me brush this out here to get rid of any loose dust. We'll use this to blow anything else away. And this luckily looks like it shouldn't be too bad. We're gonna basically fill these 3 holes with JB Weld. We'll stick this down on top, put a piece of like plastic wrap on top, and then we'll get this hinge back in place, and then this hinge should hold in really well. The nice thing is at least these 2 bumps stayed there, so that way the hinge will stay in the correct position and we don't have to worry about it moving around. I'm not sure if I can, let's see if I can put this here to kind of keep the screen up. And I don't know if you can kind of see under, but not completely, but hopefully you'll get the idea. We're gonna mix up some JB Weld now, and then we'll start to fill this up. Okay, so JB Weld, you want to use the 2-part epoxy, the full strength original black and white. You don't want to use the clear quick weld stuff because that will break a lot easier. So you want to use like this. They do have smaller tubes, but I use the big ones because there's also always a use for this stuff and it works really well. Excuse me, works really well. All right, so we're gonna fill up these 3 holes as well as the metal. It's gonna overfill a little bit. We can also put a little bit in these little holes to kind of get that all to stick together. And then, yeah, we should be good. So let's get some of this out. And 1, 2, 3, that's probably plenty because these are pretty shallow ones, I think. Okay, hopefully we won't need too much more, if anything. All right, I think that should be good. All right, so we'll get that, and I like to kind of like squeegee it off of the screwdriver if I can, just like this. All right, and I'll wipe this off. Then we'll go ahead and get the black one. Right, we'll pinch this and then we'll get some similar out. Okay. All right, so there we go. We're going to stir these 2 pieces together. Okay, and let's stir this together. so now we got all of this mixed together. You can see it's an even color. I like to use the clear because you can see on the bottom and see that it's mixed thoroughly. Okay, next thing we gotta do, we gotta fill these 3 little screw mount holes. And again, this thing is pretty thin, and that's partially why it broke. So we're basically, instead of just sticking these screw mounted areas, we're actually going to stick the entire hinge down. So I'm actually going to apply the JB Weld epoxy to the entire back of the hinge, and then that should make it to where this can never come out again. All right, so we're going to put a little bit over these dimples that stick up. Okay, so now you can see the screw mount thingies are already completely flush. What we're going to do now is I'm going to smear it over the back here, so that way when we stick this back down, it's going to coat the entire thing and it will hold well. Okay, so we're just going to coat this whole thing with, you don't want the layer to be too thin, so just going to smear it all like that. Okay, and then we're going to have to put more in after, so we're going to get this lined up. Okay, be careful not to stick it on other areas, but get that good. And you can see when we smush it, it's squishing. Hopefully you can see it's squishing the stuff out over the edges. You don't want to get too much out over here because you don't want the screen to get glued in there. Because if the screen breaks, you still want to be able to remove it. It will stick to it a little bit, but that's okay. You can actually cut through this JB Weld with a razor blade. So if anything, if you need to remove it, you can actually cut through it. And also if you heat it up, you can actually make it soft to where you can actually pull it apart. So yeah, this stuff can't handle like really high temperatures, so you don't want to expose it to too much heat. Keep that in mind. All right, the middle one is a little bit not good, so we're gonna fix that one, put a little more, and I think we should be good to go. We just got to put this thing back with the plastic wrap on top. So the plastic wrap is to prevent the hinge from sticking to the bezel. That way we could take this out in a future, at a future point. All right, and I think that's good. All right, so we're gonna use some little plastic wrap. You can use, I would recommend using like Saran wrap. If you have something super thin, that would work best. You don't want to use anything too thick because you want the epoxy to be able to mold around it. All right, so I got this. I'm gonna cut it to size a bit better. Okay, then we're going to cut this off. Okay. So we're going to now get this over there, and you don't want it to go into the screen area, so this screen has this whole black plastic area, and then we just got to basically get that in place. So let me get this cleaned off, and then I can use this to help push it into the right area. Okay, got that. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and push this plastic underneath. And this is just gonna cover the JB Weld. So again, so when we close this down, it's not gonna stick to the bezel, okay? And that's important because you don't wanna accidentally make it so you can never open this again. All right, so now that we got that, I know the coloring's weird because there's so much white around it, but there we go. Hopefully you can see this. All right, next we're gonna have to pull this backwards. So you gotta pull this to get that to go underneath, just like this. And then we can now clip everything in. So hopefully none of the clips are broken. There's a good chance they might be because a lot of times when the hinge breaks, it can damage the clips that hold this screen in place, but hopefully they're all good. All right. Oop, there's a little bit of the old adhesive that was sticking out there, so you want to tuck that back under. We don't want the adhesive on top. Alright, there's broken bits there. Just blowing that out of the way. Okay, and it's actually best if you can just leave it like this. JB Weld, you do want to let it sit for about 15 hours to completely set, but actually the way this hinge broke, you can probably move it, but I think I'm going to just let it sit at least overnight, so that way it can get a nice strong hold into this spot. I don't want to like move it and then the hinge will be tilted the wrong direction. Okay, but what we can do, I believe we should be able to get the whole body here. Let's actually get this stuff out of the way here. Okay, and we'll get this out. Okay, and we'll move this here. Okay, so there we go, and we'll get this in place. So what we'll do is we'll slide that in. You do have to raise it up so that the thing can go behind, and then now we got this. All right, and as you can see, we can let this sit. This side I'm going to let sit, but this side I'm going to push back down into place, so you can rotate the hinge down. Make sure it goes in properly. There are some raised plastic mounts that this does need to line up with. Push that in. Okay, then this cable, let me see if I can now zoom in since I can have it closer. Okay, we're going to now make sure this cable routes in properly, goes under there, and then this latch stays up. Make sure we get this in at an angle, pull that in, get this in, there we go, and then we'll pull this, latch this down over. All right, and you want to just slide your finger over it. You don't want to try and pull it at a weird angle or anything. Then you can pull this in and then reattach this adhesive. And you can also put this adhesive back down. All right, so there we go. We got that cable back in place. Let's go ahead and put the screws back in as well. Okay, so we got this screw here and this screw here. The other side, it's probably going to be for the best to let the epoxy completely set before we put those screws and push this hinge over, but eventually we will push this hinge back into place. Temporarily, I'm just going to put the screws here so I don't lose them or mix them up. Okay, just like that. And then we can actually go ahead and put the battery back in. Since we're not messing with any other connections, this hinge doesn't have any wires, excuse me. We can actually go ahead and plug in the battery right now. So battery in like this, okay, line everything up. All right, pinch that all in. There we go. All right, and this part of the battery actually needs to go in first. So you lift this up and then slide that in because there's these little feet that stick out. So make sure you slide that in so that way it pulls and holds itself in place. If you try and pull this side, you can see, oops, these feet will kind of hold it to where you can lift that. All right, so we'll get these two screws in. That one here. This one here. There we go. All right, and there we go. So all that's left now is to wait for this to set. We'll flip this back over. Of course, we have to take these hinges out and then put the bottom cover back in. So I'll see you guys, I guess, in the morning or in several hours. All right, bye for now. All right, let's finish getting this thing reassembled. Okay, so we got that. We're just gonna take those two screws back out, put the hinge back down, tighten the screws back on, and then obviously get the bottom case and screws back in. Right, so just like that, Fold that back over. Okay. I do want to let the JB weld set a little bit more, but for reassembly we should be good. Okay. There we go. Got that all in. We'll get this bottom cover back on. Okay. Just get that all lined up. Okay, push it all down. Click it all into place. Good. Alright, and let's get the last few screws in and we're good to go. That's pretty much it. Again, hopefully this video helped you guys out. If it did, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Again, if you can't help out that way, it would help a lot if you could watch a few of my other videos and then like and comment on those as well, because the algorithm likes to see that. And yeah, you're welcome to stay as I get all these screws back in. We're gonna flip it over and then just make sure it powers up, but that's pretty much it. All right, let's get these screws back in. And we did switch back to the T5 Torx 5 screwdriver, so make sure. All right. Few. Alright, last screw here. Okay, let's go ahead and open it up and power it up. You can see it's working well now. Power it on. Okay, that's coming on. Also, I don't know why, but their fan makes some grinding noise. I think they bent it or something. But there you go. It's working well. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, let's drop this. Bye.